let's kick back up. So, we just finished this very fun, exciting piece about, in this little teeny special ingredient that you can take home about what work is equal to units, time, duration, and how you can mentor your colleagues on being more aware about that. And actually, I can give you one example of how these values work. So I'm a consultant, right? And if I say I'm going to come to your place and I'm going to spend 3 days with you, then that's work. That's 3 days worth of work. So when we do our project plans, we use fixed work. Because it may be that, as you had said, I need to do 3 days, and I thought it was going to be Monday through Wednesday, but then you're going on vacation, so then I'm going to come back the following week and finish the last day or so. So the duration, as a consultant, I want to be able to stretch the duration out, but I need to keep the work the same. It's still 3 days of work. So that's how you would apply fixed duration. And I promise you folks, if you go to Google this or go to any Microsoft book, I bought, you go online to Amazon and you get, how to use Microsoft Project 2010 or 2013. Those really are valuable books. And when you get that and you read through it, you'd be doing yourself a favor. In fact, what I've done is each version that comes out, I buy that book, it's that thick, and I'll say, okay, I'm just going to do one chapter each day. And I'll wake up earlier for a half hour and I'll go through that chapter and I'll read through it and knock that chapter down. And what they do now in these books is they also give you sample project plans that go along with the curriculum in the book. So by the time you get through the book, you've done all of these different things, and it's really, really valuable. So as a colleague of yours, I really recommend you considering that approach to improve your maturity level in this area. So let's move on to the following week, week 4, tracking. Tracking. Examine what is said and not who speaks. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I discount what someone says because of who they are, not what they say. And that's not smart of me. Tracking. Core mentoring activities that we'll do would include actual hours, actual costs, update to ETC, the remaining work, and percent complete. There's a subjective percent complete, and there's an objective percent complete. Let's start with time tracking. Time tracking, here's an example of a timesheet. And what's interesting about this timesheet is that it tells me which project and what I'm working on, but it collects my time through the week, and it allows me also to do Saturday and Sunday if I want, or need to. But there's a field out here called estimate to complete. So this timesheet allows the team member to suggest an updated estimate to complete. Now don't get too scared, because we all know as project managers, the project managers, own that value, estimate to complete. But we do want feedback from the field. We want feedback from our team members. What do you think? How's it going? So when I fill this out, and if it's got 16 hours remaining and I know that I have another 30 hours to go, I can communicate off of this timesheet. I can communicate with my PM by typing in 30. And that 30 now shows up in Microsoft Project in a special field that says, hey, Mike thinks there's 30 hours remaining, you've got 16, and that will, of course, help to elicit a dialogue. We're already having dialogue, but I want to share with you that you can actually log it in a system and it can communicate. Pitfalls to timesheets. Tracking time to the wrong task. Ouch. Tracking time to a task not yet started. Well, if this is the first task of a project, and the project's supposed to start in 2 months from now, and I track time to it today, what's the project start date?
Today.
Today. No, it's not today, but it's today. And the same thing is, if we complete a task, and in 3 months from now we have a new team member come in and they're not really quite sure what the whole system is all about, and they track time to that completed task, and that task is now on the critical path, so it's 3 months in the future and they track time there, what's going to happen to the project end date? All of a sudden, it's going to go way out 3 months further out into the future. Another nightmare. And possibly on timesheets, incorrect updates made to adjustment timesheets. Now guys, look, I mean, I'm going through this. It's like I could talk, and I could talk about each one of those bullets and go into each one, and I know, I'm just saying this for like review purposes of this session, I know I could talk about this, but it would be a lot more than just the 4 hours we're spending together this morning. 4 hours, get it? Yeah, no, I only have 2 hours. So anyway, I know this is going to leave you hungry for more information, and that's one of the purposes I was told, is to share morsels of information and also trigger things in your minds that you want to pursue and follow up on your own afterwards. So that's my goal. Percent complete. Hey, how are you doing on that task? What would you say, how much have you said you've done? Oh, 50%. Okay, good. Well, you know, you've been working on that for a while. Where are you right now? I'm about 90% done. Okay, and you're done with that, right? That's 100% done. So really, there's only 4. I mean, we have 0 to 100. There are 101 possibilities to type in percent complete, and we only use 4 of them. 0, which we don't type. 50%, 90%, 100%, right? 100% complete. As a project manager, if you're happy with that kind of loose way of subjectively doing it, good. And certainly, I'm making fun of things here. Certainly, on certain types of projects or certain activities, doing the subjective approach is absolutely policy and appropriate. I'm just kind of exaggerating here, though, because we tend to accept percent complete subjectively on projects where it really shouldn't be subjective. So we just talked about percent complete, right? The first 90% of a project takes 90% of the time, and the last 10% takes 90%, and of course that's 180%, which probably is even underestimated. But let's talk about calculated percent complete. So in Microsoft Project, it gives you work expended. And that's interesting because it calculates that. So Microsoft Project gives you 2 percent complete fields. It gives you a field called percent complete, and that's totally manual. You can type in whatever number, whichever the 4 numbers that you want to type in, right? And then it has a calculated field called percent expended, and that does a math equation to calculate it. So that's based on duration. My example here is based on effort. I've done 10 hours of work. There's a total of 40 hours of work. Therefore, it's 25% complete. Now that's interesting, but let's keep in mind we need to understand which animal we're using. We're using duration-based or effort-based. And they're not necessarily mapping to the same way. And here's an example. The pitfall is it could be that the last 10% of the task is actually going to consume 50% of the effort. So my point here is just be sure to interpret the number appropriately. Know what number you're using and understand how you want to apply that calculated percent complete. Another interesting tidbit to take away, and this is another one that you may want to be the one thing that you take out that door, is rather than asking how much you have left, pardon me, and instead of saying how much have you done, it might be better to ask how much do you have left. It's very, very subtle, but it gives the PM more information. How much do you have left? Because that gets the person thinking not only maybe percent complete or hours, but also it helps them think forward to like, what day are you going to be done? So ask forward-thinking question. What do you have remaining? Earned value. And I'm just curious here, has any organization here applied earned value in in your tracking methods? Has any organization, not necessarily you individually, but your organization?
We're talking about, we're working towards that.
You're working towards that, yeah. Yeah, good. Earned value, the way I've been educated, started way back when, in wartime, when contractors were working for the military and they were delivering big ships and airplanes, and the government and military said, all right, we're going to pay you for what you've earned. So just because you say you're 25% done with the airplane, just you say you're 25% doesn't mean you've actually earned that 25%. So there's very smart people got together and put together some metrics, and it's evolved into earned value. Earned value can absolutely be applied in IT project scheduling, not on all projects by any means, but on certain types of projects, it's an interesting metric to use for tracking. Keep in mind that earned value, though, requires a good and healthy project schedule. So here are some of the components. You not only need a healthy project schedule, you also have to have made sure that you've baselined the project and that you have a % complete as of a certain date. Because we're taking an earned value as of this coming Friday, or what was the earned value as of last Friday. Earned value gives you some really interesting information. There's going to be 2 slides here. This is the first. This is on schedule variance. So we can see that the planned value, the blue line, is moving up. We've got dollars on the y-axis, and we've got time on the x-axis. And so as we've progressed with earned value, we are right here right now. We can see that there's schedule variance because we're right here, but we should have been here 2 weeks ago. We should have been at this location 2 weeks previous. So there's a schedule variance that earned value is showing us. And also there's a schedule cost variance because of that delta right there. So overall, we know that we're behind schedule. Cost variance also comes into play where we have earned value and what the actual cost is. So we can see that right now, good news is we're under budget. The end result is we just learned that we're behind schedule, but we're under budget. Earned value could be a full day opportunity for us to discuss. How to set it up, what it means. There's many metrics involved with it. It's very exciting, it's very cool, it's very informative, and it's appropriate for certain types of projects and not others. But again, the underpinning of earned value is you need to have a healthy schedule. Exactly what PESTAR is all about. Okay, let's go to week number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Week 5, analyzing. Mark Twain always had a way with words, didn't he? Data is like garbage. You'd better know what you're going to do with it before you collect it. We can collect a lot of information, but how are we going to use it? So in your mentoring activities, we'd be mentoring our colleagues on variances, schedule variances, scope, cost variances. We'd also be taking a look at risks and issues and mitigating them. So when we analyze, we're looking at variance, baseline. In fact, we might even be taking more looks at variance, baseline. And we could probably end up with looking at variances, baseline. Did I say baseline? We want to take a look at a deviation from the baseline. Did I say baseline? Baseline project plan. Mm-hmm. Variance indicates that a project reality has changed from the project plan, baseline. Who here is baselining in your organization? Mm-hmm. Everyone should be raising their hands just to play along, right? Right. So another morsel that you may want to walk out the door with is ask your organization to sit down and talk about your policies on baseline. Estimates complete, baseline, WUD. There's so much fun stuff to do. When you get this PowerPoint. These next series, it's about 7 or 8 slides, has a series of possible aspects that would cause variances in your project. I'm going to go through, this first section is on hours and the next section is on duration. So I'm just going to rifle through these and talk about the high-level bullet points here, just talk them out. But know that this is here and you can reference it. And of course, for each of these variances that we come across, there's a different way of mitigating the issue. But step one is, what are possible issues? Do I have a checklist to go through to take a look at what's possible there? And that's what I want to provide you here. And this is a great example where if you're interested, then this will intrigue you to maybe look more into it when you get back to your desks. So the hour variances could be caused anything from assigned resource estimate exceeded. So the assigned resource was given 40 hours to do something, and it ended up, it took him 60 hours to do it. His estimate was exceeded. Unassigned resources are working on a task. Unplanned tasks are added to the schedule. Completing a task under estimate could cause a variance. Hours posted to a task that is completed in the plan. So the task not completed, hours posted to a task that is already marked as completed. That's not a good thing. That'll add a variance. Adding unplanned resources to a plan. Adjustment timesheets, missing timesheets, resource charges, an incorrect task, and the task deleted from the plan. So all of these contribute, and as I hope you understand now, if I went through all of these, we would be here for 4 hours. Duration and date variances. And by the way, what I want to make a note here is that a duration variance may or may not cause an hour variance, but it will cause a positive or negative date variance. What does that mean? Let's go back to our estimate to complete. Remember when we were in estimate complete section, we talked about what's the difference between effort and duration? Effort and duration. So that's what this is saying, is that just because the task may get longer or shorter, it doesn't mean that the amount of work that we have to do is going to change. That's what we're saying here. But if the task does get longer or shorter, we are impacting finish date of that task. And if that task is part of the critical path, we may be impacting the project finish date. So what would contribute would be unplanned tasks and starting the task later than planned. Resources not available to work on a task after starting the task. That never happens, does it? Starting the task early, working a task out of planned sequence, completing it early, or adding unplanned resources to a plan. Some events that may create a variance due to mistakes, including hour variances, would be adjustment timesheets, missing the posting, or resources charging an incorrect task. Typo. So getting a project plan, once you identify these variances, back on track, that's also another piece of the art of project management. We're artistes, remember. So here's another artistic aspect. But the fundamentals is what we can always go back to. We always want to go back to those fundamentals. Well, do we need more people? Do we need to change the scope? Do we need to adjust the schedule? Is overtime a possibility? And you know what? There's a whole slew of others that you may ask. But these fundamentals, if you just ask these 4, probably you'll come up with some ideas of how to address the variances. The pitfalls of analyzing is there's no consistent periodic analysis. You're asleep at the wheel. We just don't take a hard look at our project often enough. And or we may just completely misunderstand what the variance is, or we don't diagnose it right. Reporting. Good control reveals problems early, which means that you'll have longer to worry about them. The one thing that we project managers really want to do is we really do want to find problems as early as possible, because that gives us a longer runway to fix it. None of us like bad news, but if it's going to be bad news, it doesn't get better with time. So tell me what it is now, so I have advanced warning so I can start mitigating today rather than 3 weeks from when the project is due. So reporting is going to help us do that. So we, of course, let me state the obvious. We want to report on a regular and frequent basis. Again, bad news doesn't get better with time. And let's keep in mind that there's a whole slew of variety of reporting levels. There's management reporting, there's middle management reporting, there's program reporting, there's project reporting, there's team member reporting. So the tools that the state's using right now for project portfolio management offers all of these levels of reporting. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to flip through some examples of these different levels of reporting. Here's, if you really want to get your management all excited, use the term, this is another nugget. Walk out the door with the word dashboard. Hey, Bill, I got a dashboard for you. Dashboards. So here's a management level dashboard, which shows us the top 50 projects based on resource allocations. So this top project has the most people on it and on down. And it's showing us some of the key performance indicators. That's another buzzword, KPI. I have some KPIs for you. Status, schedule, alignment, risk, issues, change requests. Here's the resource allocations. Here's planned cost. There's cool dials. I can put check marks in here and see stuff change. I mean, it's all very exciting.
Excuse me, where'd you get that? Is it out of Microsoft Project too?
Well, actually, ma'am, this is from a phenomenal product called CA Clarity.
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard of that,
Yes,
but
I have.
I'm really tool agnostic. But I've heard it's like awesome tool. It'll whip up this information for you.
Good to know.
Thank you. The check's in the mail.
Okay.
No check. It's all above board. I didn't ask her to ask that. Seriously, look, my eyes are not that way. All right, project portfolio summary. So here's a portfolio summary of all of your projects, and what's interesting about this report is cost reduction, grow the business, maintain the business. Your organization has certain goals. So what if you could tag each project and associate it with the goal? And now what you can do is you can group projects by goal. And you can now start to take a look at the totals for that goal on budget costs and plan costs and variances. So that's what this portfolio summary does. And then it shows us red, yellow, green, where we need to be concerned where a variance is going above or below certain thresholds. Project schedule report. So this is by project, by work breakdown structure, and if you drill down far enough, you get down to the resource working on it. It's showing us for each task if the task is on schedule. And what would you imagine this red, yellow, green is referencing?
Whether it's on schedule, if we're past a certain percentage from the baseline.
Baseline! Another gold star. Very good. Baseline. There's that word again, the B word. If it's late, how many days late? And even the Gantt chart is showing red, yellow, green. Another type of report is a storyboard. So second to the word dashboard for getting someone in management excited, storyboard is a really exciting word to them as well. But there's a good reason why. So all of this information is just for one project called the e-commerce portal project. And it shows us general information about who's at the helm, what are some of the dates, what's the baseline dates and what's the actual dates. How are we doing overall based on the last status report? Are things getting worse? Are things improving? What's the brief objective and what's the latest status report update? It shows us labor hours and financial impacts. What have we accomplished and what's upcoming to be accomplished? Are there issues and risks? And earned value, if you care to worry about that, then we even give you some earned value metrics. So this storyboard really is very special, and in fact, the HSDC is using HSDC is actually using a storyboard report, and it just gets everyone all excited. But again, my point here, for our purposes, is this is information that a lot of which is coming from the project schedule. So PESTAR is the approach where we can, in a concentrated way, mentor our colleagues on improving their project management skill set in the area of project scheduling to get the project schedules more accurate and more healthy, so that the end result is we have more reliable and repeatable and dependable reporting. Resource capacity. I haven't touched really anything about resources in today's conversation because of our topic on specifically going about project scheduling. But I just thought to show you that there are many applications out there that will give you input into how you're using your people and who's available and who's not available. This report shows us that in the development department, on these projects, the folks who are in development are working on these projects, and we can see that our development folks are underwater. They're over-allocated in these months. It gets a little bit better in May, June, and July, and then August they better not show up to work because they're going to be buried again. Shared services, again, they're working on a different set of projects, and it rolls up the information that the shared services people are working on in these projects. So this is another reporting approach. This is by role. Our architects, they are pretty much slammed all the way across the board. Meanwhile, DBAs, they seem to be pretty well balanced out. We have enough of those for right now. And then lastly, over-under. So it's showing us which person is either under-allocated, who's sitting there tapping their fingers on their desktop because they're not being used, or who is over-allocated and by how much, in what month, and in what time period. Now, this is valuable because every organization has Larry, because everyone wants to go to Larry because Larry is great at what he does. But there's also Mary. So when you go to Larry and Mary, they never have time. But that's important to know, because what are they working on? Because what they're working on, all of these projects are waiting for their availability to do their special secret sauce thing so that it can progress. So this type of over reporting helps us to level out work efforts. And then you get into dollars. We've looked at project schedules, we've looked at people, now we're looking at dollars. And again, you have red, yellow, green reports in the financial area. So what are some pitfalls with reporting? Stale data, an inconsistent approach for managing the project schedule, poorly designed work breakdown structure. Remember way back in our conversation we talked about having a deliverable-based work breakdown structure and having all the deliverables and the completion milestones for those deliverables at the same level. That will help our reporting. Missing data. Life after the PESTAR mentoring. Life after the PESTAR mentoring is just rosy. I don't know about what Confucius said here. When it's obvious that the goals cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. I don't know, I think sometimes it's appropriate to adjust the goals, but maybe not all the time. So what do we do when we're all done with PESTAR? Continue to use what you've learned in those 6 weeks. And if you do need to modify your project schedule scope, have a control process and plan. So when you get the download to this presentation, this gives you some specific aspects to make sure that's part of your change control plan. The last slide, ladies and gentlemen. What did we learn today? We learned that PESTAR is like pesto, in that it's food for your soul. And we learned that you can nourish yourself by getting these secret sauce ingredients that I've only shared with you today and mix that into your project plan. I know, some guys are looking at me like, you are so cheesy with all of this. You're almost out of here. But you can mix it into your plan and really come out with a juicy, flavorful meal. But in all seriousness, I've wanted to present some morsels along the way in these various areas. Keep in mind that PESTAR is simply a way of transpiring, of mentoring, of setting up a mentoring schedule for a team of project managers. So as you go through it together, you learn together, your level of project maturity, project management maturity, steps up a notch, and ultimately, better reporting is going to come out of it. You're going to have a better resume, and everyone's going to be happy. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for your feedback. And I will be signing my recipe book if anyone